Namaste everyone. This is Sir Manuel from St. Agnes Higher Secondary School. Today, I'll be presenting Chapter 1 of Class 9 History syllabus. Name of the topic is American War of Independence. You will find very interesting to know about this chapter because this chapter is about the history of United States of America, which is very, very common to us. USA is, as we know, one of the most powerful and richest country in the world. Till the first half of the 15th century, some part of Asia, Africa, and USA was totally unknown to the people of Europe. The 16th century is important in European history because the 16th century is known as the Age of Discovery, because during this time many new sea routes to Asia, Africa, and new continent like America were discovered by the European. Now the question is, why did the European they have to look for a new sea route and to search for a new land? Or we can say, what are the causes for the European in exploring other parts of the world? In short, the three factors can be called the 3Z. The first Z stands for goal. Goal symbolizes economics. During the Crusade period, the European people come in contact with the Asian people and they started consuming the Asian goods, especially spices, silk and cotton clothes, which are very much in demand in Europe. Apart from this, gold and silver are the two important metals used in making coins in Europe. But due to excessive use of these two metals, there was a shortage of supplies of gold and silver in Europe. That's why the European people, they have to look for a new colonies or a new place to get all these things. Especially in 1453, Constantinople was fall under the hand of a newly converted Muslim, the Turks Muslim. The Turks Muslim are very much hostile toward the European Christian. So earlier, Mediterranean region was the only place where trade between Asia and Europe was carried out. But once Constantinople was fall under the hand of the Muslim Turks, now it become almost impossible for the European to carry trade with Asia. So they need to search for a new sea route to Asia. That's why Christopher Columbus was compelled to take this tax and he discovered America in 1492. Also, in 1498, Vasco da Gama, he discovered a sea route to India for the first time. The second Z is glory. Here, glory stands for politics. Any European countries who have maximum numbers of colonies become the most powerful and the more stronger. So, any European country who have more colonies ultimately increase their national prestige. That's why there was competition among the European countries in order to have more and more colonies. And the third Z stands for God. Here God stands for Christianity. As we find in the New Testament, Lord Jesus Christ asked his 12 disciples to go out every part of the world and to spread the gospel. So, the European Christian countries, they wanted to spread Christianity through the people of Asia, Africa, and America. That's why many Christian missionaries venture out the unknown land in order to spread Christianity. Now, regarding the discovery of America, as we know that America was discovered by Christopher Columbus on 12 October 1492. Christopher Columbus was an Italian man. He belonged to the city of Genoa. Christopher Columbus, being inspired by earlier traveler like Marco Polo, he approached the Portuguese king in order to help in his mission. Unfortunately, the Portuguese king declined, and Christopher Columbus approached the king of Spain, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. They are ready to help Christopher Columbus in his mission. So, accordingly, financially and materially, they helped Christopher Columbus in finding out a sea route to India. So, on 3rd August 1942, Christopher Columbus, with 3 ships, the name of those ships are Pinta, Naina, and Santa Maria, started his mission. Altogether, they are 87 sailors. Christopher Columbus himself personally commanded the big ship Santa Maria. Along with him, there are 40 crews. So, Christopher Columbus started their journey from the port of Palos of Spain. After a hard journey of 2 months, at last, Christopher Columbus landed on the island of Bahamas. This Bahamas island is presently known as Caribbean Islands. When Christopher Columbus first landed there, he thought that he reached India or Indies, and the first native people he met them were brown in complexion. So he started calling the native peoples of Bahamas Island as Red Indian. But you have to keep in mind that the native people of America did not call themselves as Red Indian. It was just a name given to them by Christopher Columbus. The native peoples of Americas were known by different names, like Mohawks, Cherokees, etc. So Christopher Columbus informed the Spanish King Ferdinand about his discovery, but the Spanish King Ferdinand had a doubt about Christopher Columbus' discovery of a new world. But realizing the importance of the new world in future, King Ferdinand, he asked Pope Alexander VI in order to divide the new world between Spain and Portugal. So accordingly, the western part of the new world fall under the jurisdiction of Spain, and the eastern part fall under the jurisdiction of the Portuguese. So this geographical division greatly helped the Spanish and the Portuguese in order to stop other European countries to carry trade in their territories. But this geographical division made unhappy and dissatisfied among other European countries like the France and the English. Some of the English traders like John Hawkins Francis Drake, able to carry a secret trade with Spanish America. They brought Negroes from Africa and sold in America. Not only this, some of the English pirates started looting the Spanish ship in the ocean. When it was come to the notice of Spanish king, the Spanish king informed the British Queen Elizabeth to take legal action against those pirates. But the British Queen, instead of taking action against them, she encouraged and helped them because she got a share from it. Now, after the Spanish power started decline from the 16th century onward, England became more and more powerful in America. Now, regarding the colonization of America by the English, the name of Sir Humphrey Gilbert cannot be missed out because he was the first Englishman who advocated the colonization in order to solve the rising problem of unemployment and in order to absorb an anti-social element in Britain. So in 1553, Sir Humphrey Gilbert, he landed on the island of Newfoundland and he thought of establishing colonies there. But unfortunately, before he was successful, he died of accident on his way back to England. But his work is carried on by his relative named Sir Walter Raleigh. He was the first Englishman who established the first British colonies in America, that is Virginia. Virginia is named after the British Queen Victoria. But in the beginning, because of the hostile attitude of the native peoples of America, no one to settle in Virginia. But later on, when tobacco trade became more and more profitable, Virginia emerged as one of the most important center and colonies of the British in America. Soon after this, more and more people started migrating and settle in America, particularly in the coastal region, because the coastal region there are a lot of fertile empty lands and America is very rich in natural resources like gold, iron and silver. Apart from this, America also provided a safe haven for those religious minorities who were persecuted in England, especially the Puritans. In 1623, the Puritans, they migrated to America in a ship called Mayflower, and they established a colonies there, and name of the colonies is Plymouth. So, the first batch of the Puritan who settled in Plymouth came to be known as the Pilgrim Father. After this, different groups of the Puritans comes and settle in America, and they established their own colonies like Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Islands, and New Hampshire. Altogether, the colonies established by this Puritan came to be known as New England. Again in 1634, Roman Catholic leader Baltimore, he established another colonies called Maryland in the north of Virginia. After this, Clarendon and General Monk, they established a new colonies known as Carolina. Later on, Carolina came to be divided into North Carolina and South Carolina. Again in 1681, Another religious group called Quaker, under the leadership of William Penn, they established a new colonies called Philadelphia. Philadelphia is one of the most important cities, and the meaning of Philadelphia means city of love and brotherhood. In these colonies, all religions are allowed to live side by side. In 1732, James Oglethorpe, another English gentleman, he established a new colonies called Georgia in order to refuse and shelter the British prisoner. Between Virginia and New England, Holland established a colonies called New Netherland. But unfortunately, Holland could not survive the commercial competition of Britain, and she was forced to leave New Netherland in the hand of the English. So, altogether, there are 13 British colonies in America. Now the question is, why did these 13 British colonies, they revolt against their mother country, that is England? So the next subtopic is causes for the outbreak of the American War of Independence. There are many causes. We will discuss one by one. The first causes is independent attitudes of the American people. We have to know that the 13 British colonies in America is not established by the British government. They are established by individual and commercial companies. Only after the establishment of the colonies, the British government come to America and the colonies accepted their domination. So, in these colonies, the governor, his advisory council are nominated by the British Crown. Especially, the Representative Assembly is elected by the people of the colony concerned. But here in the Representative Assembly, only the rich and wealthy big landlords were allowed to vote. Once a person is elected as a member of the Representative Assembly, they become very powerful. After the outbreak of the Glorious Revolution in 1668, or we can say after the mid-17th century onward, there was a great change in the political system of England. After the mid-17th century onward, the British Parliament more powerful to that of the British Crown. So ultimately, it had impact on America. So slowly and gradually, even in American colonies, people representative become more and more powerful, especially in terms of financial power. If any official who refuse to work online with them, then grant will be withheld or withdrawn. So, the British government find very difficult to interfere in the daily administration of American colonies. Especially, there are some colonies like Massachusetts. Since the beginning, they work very independently from the British government. The next causes is lack of loyalty toward the British. As we know that the 13 British colonies in America were established by individual initiative and commercial companies' effort. In these 13 colonies, many nationalities from Germany, France, Holland, Sweden live along with the British national. So it was very obvious for these people not to be always loyal toward England. Especially the first generation who migrated to America may be loyal. But what about the new generation who live, born and brought up in America? Especially from this new generation, we cannot expect loyalty toward England. The next causes is differences in religion. There is a lot of differences between religious practice that was prevailed in America and those of England. As you know, England is a Protestant Christianity country. In England, the king is the head of the church. So, obviously, the Anglican church enjoy royal patronage. But here in America, all religions were allowed to coexist side by side. Even the American Constitution granted the people the freedoms of religion. The next causes is social differences between America and England. The society that was prevailed in England was very much different to that of the society of America. In England, societies have many layers. There are barons, earls, dukes, and knights. Whereas in America, there was no people, big or small. Everyone was treated equal. There was no superior or inferior. The people of America only need two things: axe and plow, to clear the forest land. So in American society, there was no division in the society. All are treated equally, unlike those of England. The next causes of the American War of Independence is economic exploitation by the British government. From the beginning, the British government saw the colonies as only a source of exploitation. Britain had maximum colonies in the world. That's why it is rightly said that the sun never set in the British Empire. So for the British, their 13 American colonies are a source of exploitation only. The British politicians in England passed many laws in order to increase the wealth of England at the cost of America. Especially, the American people were not allowed to manufacture hemp. Also, they are not allowed to export goods like sugar cane, some animal and tea. In other countries, they have to export only by the English ship. But the American traders are allowed to trade with other countries. So these are some of the causes of American Wars of Independence. Now, come to the next topic, that is advance of the crisis. How did the American War broke out? After the end of the 7-Year War between England and France in 1763, George Grenville become the Prime Minister of England. So, the British government and politicians wanted the American people to bear some of the expenses for the maintenance of the British Army who are stationed in America. So after the end of the 7-year wars, the British Prime Minister George Grenville, he passed a Sugar Act in 1764 in order to stop the illegal smuggling of sugar. Again in 1765, George Grenville, he passed the famous act, what is known as Stamp Act. So now, under the Stamp Act of 1765, it was made mandatory for the American people to use the British stamp in all the agreement, newspaper, and news. The American people realize the advantage and disadvantage of the British administrative system. Some of the American people feel that why should the British impose tax on them where the American people did not have any representative in the British Parliament. So after the passing of the Stamp Act, the situation become very worse. The relation between England and American colonies become deteriorated. Under such condition, Samuel Adams, Patrick Henry, Christopher Gadsden organized a mass movement against the British Stamp Act. So accordingly, in 1765, under the initiative of these three leaders, the 9 colonies sent their representative and organized what is known as Stamp Act Congress at New York. So, the British government was compelled to withdraw their Stamp Act of 1765. Again in 1767, the British Prime Minister passed what is known as a new law. He tried to impose tax on American papers, glass, and tea. Now, the American people become more and more angry, and mass protest was organized in all the colonies. In some colonies, even violence broke out. So, after the mass protests by the American colonies, by boycotting the British goods, the British government was compelled to withdraw tax imposed on different items except on tea. So, in this way, slowly and gradually, the relationship between the American colonies and the British government declined. Again in 1773, Lord North became the Prime Minister of England, and Lord North enacted a new law, what is known as the Tea Act of 1765. According to this law, the East India companies were given duty-free trade in tea in America. This was done in order to protect the interests of the English trader at the cost of the American trader. So the American trader become very much angry with the new law, and when the situation become almost unavoidable, some of the British politicians, including the ex-prime minister Pitt the Elders, suggest the British government and the British politician in order to solve the differences between their 13 colonies and the home government to solve mutually. But unfortunately, since most of the British politicians are the supporters of the British King George III, they refuse to make a compromise with their American colonies. So in May 1970, in Boston Port, a violence broke out. In this violence, many peoples of the Boston Port lost their life. This incident is known as Boston Massacre in American history. Again in 1772, in Rhode Island, when the British ship arrived at the port, the people of Rhode Island set ablaze on the British ship. So the situation became more and more grim. In this condition, after the passing of the Tea Act of 1775, when the British ship arrived at the Boston port, some American dressing like the native Red Indian, they threw away 342 tea chests on the sea. This incident is known as Boston Tea Party in American history, and this Boston Tea Party is the immediate cause of the American War of Independence. Thank you.